This one's all about miracles.
The trees of green, red roses too. I see the bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, and also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying how do you do. They're really saying I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world, oh yeah. Well, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
So normally, this part of the service, we have a skit, a dramatic performance, because it helps us to see things from a different perspective. However, most of the time, the skit is to help us to teach us something, maybe from a different way of seeing things. Today, however, we're talking about miracles, and I believe that every person in this room knows what a miracle is. And the unique perspectives on miracles are maybe those that we can share with each other. What would you consider miraculous in your life? What's happened in a way that you didn't think it could? What in your life, when you look back, when you rewind the tape of your life, if you had it set on miracles, skip to the next one, skip to the next one, skip to the next. Just looked at a highlight reel of miracles in your life. What would they be? Where were God's fingerprints on your life? Connections is such a cool place because it's such a cool group of folks, such a cool family. And we're a room full of teachers. We're a room full of students. We're a room full of spiritual beings sharing an experience. With that being said, I'd like to turn the mic over to all of us, to any of us who want to share a way that God's touched your life, in a way that you would consider a miracle, so that we can learn from you. We can learn from each other. So I invite you, whoever would like to go first. Bring it, Mark!
Probably had a lot of miracles in my life, really. Recently, last year or two, a couple things, we all have physical ailments, and sometimes you think you're done. You think, well, this is it. It's only, especially when the doctors tell you that. Well, what are they here for? To tell you that, well, there's a name for this, and so you can't do this anymore. I was told I could never run again. I was running just the other night. I rode 8.5 miles with my bike last night. My knees hurt a little bit, not as bad as a couple weeks ago. I mean, anything that hurts at some point can be healed. I am beginning to really believe this. And it's not always like you snap your finger, but sometimes it is. So I'll do two situations that I've been through. One, when I first met Scott and Mary, I had back pains every day. And I still have back pains, but not every day. And they're not as bad. And when I do feel a little tweak, now I just look at it as like it's a reminder. Oh yeah, I haven't done crunches in a week. No kidding. I haven't done this in a week. Well, there you go. So it's like a maintenance. I look at it now like a maintenance call when my back hurts. So then there was the one snap of the finger. I'm going to put this out there. I do not know, and I don't want to come back, but I had something else occur. I cut down a queen palm tree. It was big chunks, and I was being really careful loading the truck. I was even having help loading my truck up, and I pulled out onto the highway, and the stump part, the biggest part, went flying out the truck. I'm like, oh no, and I'm kind of a responsible person. Here comes some cars. I ran out, hit the emergency lights, blocked it, and being in a hurry to get out of the highway, I grabbed that whole stump, picked it up, and as I picked it up, bent my knee, said, be careful, and it didn't hurt my back. And when I went to fling it, it wasn't going to make it. And I got under it, and I just gave it all I could and slung, and I whiplashed. So that's your neck. Great, here I am with back problems now. I've never had a problem with my neck. I've told a lot of you all this, but you wanted to hear about it, so we're doing it. I was getting all this voltage down the arm, the pain in the arm, and then sometimes losing the arm. And found out it was nothing to do with the shoulder. I thought it was my shoulder. No, it was a vertebrae up here, and it was bad. And I had some bulges. They didn't have a rupture, but I had some bad bulges up there. So I was doing the different therapies where they pull up on you and stuff like that, and not getting much results. And I got scared. That's the part I wanted to tell you. I got scared, and I was riding my bike with my left hand because I was kind of letting this one hang because there's no comfortable position. And I don't want to tell you, I didn't get angry, but I was befuddled. I was just like, you gave me the back thing, I've been working, you give me this, you give me that, and right when I think that I'm going to get enough confidence to carry on, you slap me again. Why did you do that? And I started saying, no, that's not the way to pray. Don't do that. What would I do? It would be as if I was already healed. And I'd heard that, so I went ahead and just went with it. I said, I'm just going to go ape with this because I'm done. I am so done with these various pains. What's next? None of it's next because I'm already healed. And I literally didn't care. I was so kind of ticked off that I started feeling it. I said, I'm already healed. I'm already healed. And I'm riding the bike and I'm running around and people are probably, at this point, I'm like, fine, I hope everybody hears me. I'm healed. I'm healed. He did it. I'm already healed. Oh, it's so great. Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. Jesus, you're so cool. You did this. And I said, get the time backward. You feel it now, but forget that. It already happened. And there was something about that in my mind. It's already happened. It's already happened. I'm already healed. Anyway, I went on like about 3 or 4 minutes. I was near home. And the whole way home, I said that. And I got off the bike and I said, don't mess with it. I don't really feel it right now, but it couldn't be. I don't need no more. It went away. It went away that night. And I hate to throw a false hope out there because things like that, they're not every time. But try. Try to believe you will heal. If nothing else, a friend of mine gave me a card once in his deck of metaphysical cards. He says, you need this one. It messed up his deck. And I put it in my car, and that I'll never forget it. It's a big old card that says, it is natural for the body to heal. Cool.
I guess it's me. Well, I do have had a lot of miracles in my life, but I thought I'd share some recent ones. Well, it starts back in 2005. 2005 was a really difficult year. I lost some really strong women in my life. And I'm going to start crying. My sister-in-law died. My brother and his wife separated and later divorced. And I lost my best friend for, I don't know why. She just kind of disassociated with everybody. And so I had to deal with those losses. And then recently, I guess last year, I started getting, maybe a little bit before that, but anyway, on Facebook, the magic of Facebook. Facebook, people put it down, but there's miracles in Facebook even. I thought of my friend, and I had tried really hard to get in contact with her. And I found her on Facebook, and I asked to friend her, and she didn't respond back. And I said, okay, well, it wasn't meant to be. But then, several months later, I said, I just had this feeling, I need to get in touch with her. I need to somehow find out where she's at. And I Googled her, and I found out she was in Utah, and she had followed a dream she had of working at a place that's rescued animals, dogs, and I found there was a no-kill shelter. And so I tried once more, and this time she responded. And it was at a perfect time. Her husband was really sick, and so we reconnected. But then I got used to it. She's one that doesn't communicate all the time, so I kind of got used to that. And then I got this feeling again, something's going on. I need to find out what's going on. So I tried to catch her on Facebook, and I noticed people were saying, oh, I'm so sorry about Michael. And I said, uh-oh. So I called her, and she didn't call me back. She wasn't there, and I left a message. The next day she called me back, saying her husband had died. And so we've been talking a lot. And so I feel like God led me to her at a time that she really needed me. And then, so I feel like in a sense I got one friend, my best friend back. In a way, it's different, and she's moving back to Florida. And the other thing, my sister-in-law was the one that's separated, divorced from my brother. I didn't have the whole story about what happened with their divorce. Because what was told was she had an affair. Well, my brother told us in November that he was gay. So I had more compassion for her. And so I've been thinking, well, should I friend her on Facebook? Again, Facebook. And I didn't have the courage. But yesterday I liked something she said about my nephew. And she responded to me. And she said how much she missed us. So I got her back in a different way. Of course, I can't get my other sister-in-law back, but on Facebook I get to see all her kids and their babies, and my brother has a new girlfriend, and so I've got some more strong women back in my life, as well as all of you. And so it's a miracle. You just never know how things are going to turn around. So just to have those people back in my life, even though it's a different way, to me it's a miracle because I never thought it would be. Thank you.
I'm just going to be real quick, though. I'm a nurse, but I've seen some really miracles in my day. Like, I just want to mention a couple of things. But people that go, to like a teaching hospital or whatever, and volunteer for like a study on lung cancer or something like that. So they have an MRI done and they find the cancer out of the blue. Like they thought that they were healthy and they were just volunteering. Or, they go to these, they volunteer to do things and they do an x-ray on them and they find out that they have that. Who's telling them to do that? Things like that. Or I have seen patients that, like in that profession, things happen where patients heal spontaneously and you're like scratching your head like what happened. Get the old x-ray out, where did that go, type of thing. So I have seen those things in my day and stood there like with my mouth open. And I've read about those things, but probably that. But when you see it for real, you just, wow. So how does that happen? So anyway, that's all.
It's very cool. It's one of the coolest, most direct miracles. Probably, what would it be, September-ish? I said, I have a lot of friends, but I want a close friend, someone who does music, someone who has the same spiritual beliefs and kind of my age. And as you know, my daughter and Rose's daughter set us up. They said, you'd like her. So anyway, Rose and I got connected, and it was right before Christmas, just in time for the Christmas season to play all the music and everything. So it's just been a blessing, and it was just, crazy to me. Like, I asked for this, I didn't make a big deal out of it, I didn't write it down or do anything, I just was real specific. And 2 months later, I met Rose, and we've been hanging out, we laugh. She has a lot of the guitar skills that I don't have, so we're complimenting each other. She's getting back into the singing that she wanted to do, and then she loves this group, so it all worked really well together. So I'm very thankful for you. And for our daughters. All this together.
Yes.
That's it.
I had a little medical miracle several years ago. I had messed up my knee at the age of 40 or something. Trying to learn how to ski up in Canada. Well, it didn't work out too well because my knee got really bad, messed up bad. And they said up there that I was going to need an operation. Well, before I could get that done, moved back down here to the States. So I was like, it didn't work too well for like a year and a half. And I couldn't even straighten it out all the way, and it was just messed up. But I'd heard about Reiki, and I'd even thought about doing it up in Canada, but I didn't get around to it. So I had moved to Phoenix, my husband and I moved to Phoenix, and lo and behold, in the newspaper one day, another thing that I did up in Canada was have full moon circles with lady friends, my good friends up there. So we'd have the full moon things, and we had fairy circles in my yard, and they said if you dance around in the opposite direction on the full moon, you'll see the fairies. We did all kinds of crazy things. But anyway, back to the knee. I did try Reiki. I was reading the newspaper, and there was this little tiny blurb about full moon circles. I said, oh, cool. So that was a little miracle. But then I went to that same lady who did these, went to her for the Reiki healing circle one night, and said, I wanted to do this. I'm going to see, and just like her, I wasn't expecting a lot. And then, so we did the healing circle that night. The next morning, I went, well, maybe it takes 1 or 2 treatments. And I forgot about it. Well, then by that night, I went, what was different about today? Oh my gosh. It was healed. It was healed. So a little, there are miracles everywhere. So and it's been fine ever since. Who knows? So anyhow, that was a little medical miracle. But the real miracle, too, that I always like to appreciate are the people that come into your lives when you're least expecting it. And we've all had that happen. And it's just, if you really stop and think about those people, it's kind of miraculous where, you just don't know where they came from, but here they are to bless you and you to bless them and to make miracles together, and you just never know. And so that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And biggest miracle for me in the last 10 years has been my grandchildren. And they are miracles. Everyone here is a miracle. And your own children are a miracle. I don't know, there's something about those babies that just, Julie, are real true. You just realize every day how miraculous they really are. I think you have time to look into their eyes and into their hearts and really feel things that you didn't get to feel when you were raising your own children, because you were so busy raising your own children that you really didn't get a chance to, perhaps, I don't know for you, but to really get in there and feel that miracle.
Well, with me, what Rose was saying with, in the hospital, it happened in my family. My ex-brother-in-law is a heart surgeon. And at this clinic, they had ordered this machine to check hearts. And when they received it, they didn't have any patient to check it on. So my sister went with her daughter to pick up my brother-in-law from work. And his nurse says, well, since we don't have any patient now, why don't we try it on Angelique and see, just to see how the machine works. Well, when they tried the machine on her, they noticed she had a hole in her heart. This child she raised with my daughter, and they were always in sports, but she was always kind of heavier than her sister and my daughter. And so every time Angelique tried to play tennis, to play different things, she was always out of breath. And no one knew, just she's unable to walk away, that's all. And so through that machine, which it wasn't intended for her, she was a child, this was more, adult. they found out that she had this heart and she had to have surgery. They did the surgery at Children's Hospital in Los Angeles, and everything came out fine, and she's now 23 years old. So she's doing well. And I see miracles in my life every day in one way or another. Sometimes it's just little stuff. I was having some issue when I went to California with Bright House. Then I said, okay, I pay my balance, good. I only have $39 to pay for reinstatement. I received, because I had my mail forward, I didn't know how long I would be there. And I received a statement for $200 and something. And I said, what this? Well, maybe the payment, got mixed up in the mail, whatever, when I paid over the phone. So I called them and they says, yeah, because you made 2 long-distance calls through the assistant of an operator. They were $179 each. I says, you guys are crazy. I says, you know what? I'm in California. I'm having a good time with my family. I'm not going to let you guys mess up the rest of my days here. So I left it there, but sure, it's still in the back of my mind. Then I came home. I got another invoice because I says, I don't even want to talk to them. So the other invoice said $400 and something. I said, oh shit. So I said, forget it, I can't handle this. But every time I go to bed, and I put my head on the pillow, Bright House come up, Bright House. So finally, I didn't call, I'm going to, they called me. I didn't answer the first time. The second time I says, okay, because I was ready in a sense. I have the papers and the invoices on my table. I says, okay, I'll talk to them now. She says, we are calling about your payment. I says, well, I already took care of that yesterday. And it turned out that when I called them, that I was like ready to talk to them. The girl, the first thing, she says, okay, let me check. She came back and she says, okay, we are giving you a credit of $200. Because my bill is always $100 and something. And I wanted to go into more explanation where you guys did this and did that. And I says, Julie, just count your blessings, okay? You didn't have to fight for it or anything, and that's what I wanted, for them to take off. Because which operator? I says, only if they picked me up and took me to Spain to talk to the person, in person. So, but anyway, thank you guys, and it's a, not supposed, I don't call it, it's a miracle, but at the same time, things happen for a reason. And we don't know it, and it's what I tell myself. Like when I met these 2 people, Mary and Scott, it's like there was something there that I says, this is what I've been looking for, this is what I needed. And I was even shy about it because it's like, it can't be. It can't be. This is what I wanted by what they were saying, where we met, and at the same time I was denied it. It was too good to be true. So, thank you guys. Love you. Love you all.
Oh my goodness. Knowing the subject of today of miracles, I've kind of reviewed it in my life, throughout my week this week of even with the meditation, how do you start with meditation? And I remember as a little girl, never going anywhere. We weren't allowed to go anywhere except school. I had 9 brothers and sisters, but that's where I spent my time. I thought, I'd read the Bible and I'd read the scriptures and I would think, what miracles life has to offer. I want to be part of that. I want to be part of that energy. And I'm like, and at the time I was thinking, there's no way in the world I'd be part of miracles in the life that I was given. And as I grew up, always having this in the back of my head, well, if I follow my intuition, if I follow God, somehow this can happen. And I grew up in a church that was full of miracles. And I read story after story after story of miracles that had happened. People where body parts grew back by faith, of where whole towns fasted for 40 days for someone to live. And the stories that I read were just amazing. But still, they were just stories, someone else's life. And I was so glad to read it, to know it was possible. But in my own life, it was like my life is so sheltered, so interactive, like I wasn't able to see the own miracles in my own life. But as time passed, I started to see the miracles. I started to look for the miracles. And I would ask the question, you know, should I move out of a state when I was a teenager? And my car would stop dead at a dead stop at 70 miles an hour. You know, thinking I could drive back if I wanted to change my mind. And it was almost God's direct answer of, no, your car won't make it. You stay where you're at. Or one day wanting to know if I could meet Jesus, what that would be like. And I remember praying for 3 hours, 4 hours. I fell asleep praying. I prayed all night. And waking up in the middle of the night, sitting straight out of bed, knowing that I had just met him and having that recollection. I don't remember what we said. I don't know I remember what we did, but I remember that was possible. I was like, for me, it's possible. I read all these stories of everybody else having this experience, and here's my experience. And it opened up my awareness that as we pray, as we ask for the miracles, they're given to us. As we look for them, they're given to us. And meeting Scott, oh my gosh, when we were on tour, when he works with people, the miracles that have come through him, I've just opened my eyes to a whole other world of what is possible. And even working with people through hypnosis to see overnight their lives change. In my own life, to see my life change. Every day is a new day, and how my personality and my looks and everything about life has changed. So that's a miracle. And like Julie was saying, every day is a miracle. It's like now I expect a miracle. I expect to see a miracle in my life and other people's lives and in life around me. And if a day goes by and there isn't a miracle, it's almost shocking. It's almost like, where is it? How's it shown up this week? What is it going to be this week? But what a blessing. It's a miracle in itself to live a life just full of miracles. It is an amazing life. A life that I am so glad that I open myself up to and look for and expect every day. That's my story. But even with Scott, I think the biggest miracle in my life has been Scott and I. The way that we met, the way that we got together, even the dramatic change. Every day we look at our lives and we say, who we were before and who we are today is so drastically different. Like, that is a miracle in itself. And it's not something that was forced or like took an extreme amount of work. It's just happening. It's evolving. And I am blessed for the miracle that he's brought into my life, that he has become, that he is. It has passed anything that I ever believed was possible. You know, when two people get together, they break up. You don't expect to come back together and have life is even better. Or even to see our life a year ago and say, our life is so much better today than it was a year ago. Our life is just a miracle, our connection.